Hey everyone, welcome back. So in this episode of the RMX 250 Rebuild, we're going to go through the front suspension and specifically replacing all the seals, all the bushings, and trying to fix this anodizing issue that you see here. Now I have a solution that I'm willing to test, but you'll have to see later in the video whether it works or not, because I'm not sure if it's the best way to fix it. Okay, so here's the plan, and whether or not this is a good idea or not, let me know in the comments, but this looks to be only surface level. I will do a bit more research shortly, but if I can just shave that off to like the lightest amount that I can take off, because it doesn't look like it affects where the clamps are. So what I'm thinking is, if this isn't structural in any way, I can shave it down a little bit. Can't try and make it look as flat as I can, because this is on the inside of the fork from memory. And then we'll spray it with like an anodized gold, and hopes that that'll fix it, because I can't find these shocks online anywhere for a reasonable price. So I'm just going to try and do the best I can with what I have and go from there. But I know it's a less than ideal situation, but this can't stay. This is just eroding. So let's see if we can get it off and then cover it up and go from there. So we're going to start with sandblasting the aluminium parts, and whether we polish or paint them, work it out as we go. I'm going to pull the shocks apart, but before I do that, actually yeah, I'll pull them apart first, because this will need grinded down. So I'd rather have that detached, so then there's less to work with instead of having something that's over 1 meter long. And like I said, we'll try and grind that down as minimally as possible and just repaint it with a gold anodized. And we'll rebuild the insides with all the seals and stuff that's needed. And we'll just give it a nice little touch up. I'm going to lock the top here, because that's a 17 mil, and then I'm going to unscrew the bolt down here. now this is apart, we can assess this one here. So it's definitely eroded, but there's no structural issues. So I think we're just going to grind this down until it's as smooth as we can get it, and either replate it or repaint it or something like that. I think that's going to be the move for this restoration. I don't know much about anodizing, so I'm not going to claim to know that, but repainting that in a very similar color might help. And while we're here, we'll replace the internals and slap it back together. Okay, so with the die grinder, that's all flattened off, so you can see there's nothing, protruding above. And I was thinking about this, what we could do, and seeing it's aluminium, I could either weld it and then sand it down, but I don't have access to a welder, so I'm going to see if I can use filler. See how that goes, really. I have no idea if that's going to be a good long-term solution, but it's something I have access to now, and I might just give it a shot. So everything's been wire brushed and sanded, and obviously filed down here. So the idea is I'm going to put it on, sand it smooth. I'm also going to use the calipers, because there's nothing wrong with this one. I'll get the calipers and make sure that the diameters are very similar, especially where I'm using the filler. And then anodize it with some gold anodized paint. It's not the same as proper anodizing, there's not that chemical reaction and hardening of the aluminium, but we'll see if it's a nice temporary fix given the tools we have available. First thing we need to do is put a priming coat on it for the filler to stick to. Once the primer's on, then we'll add the filler. So the paint I'm going to use is a rim paint, just because these generally have better durability, and the fact that I'm filling that with filler, I kind of don't want it to get scratched. I know it's inevitable because even anodizing the aluminium itself does scratch and break. So this is my best thought given the situation. So we'll see what happens. Again, this is all experimenting. We'll see if it works, see if it doesn't work. We'll make a video in a couple months after riding it to see how it's holding up. But yeah, it's all experimenting at this point. All right, now everything's done. This has been filled, painted, sanded, etc. Everything here has been cleaned. We've brushed the ends of these, cleaned them up. And now we've got the all bores, bushing and seal kit. So we're going to replace the oil, dust seal and all the bushings with brand new ones, as well as reusing these old parts. So we'll start to put these together, but this is where I need someone's help because I can't find out online how much liquid to put into it. So if you've done this before, I would love if you could comment below, because even though I'll put these together now, I can always undo them and readjust the liquid level. So your feedback would be very beneficial. Plus for anyone else who sees this video and wants to know the levels. But we'll get started. The tape around the end of the shocks is taped up and then put some shock oil on it, and that prevents any of the seals getting cut by the rough edges. So, future Corey here. I'm only doing this because I got it wrong. And you might see in the video that it's in the wrong direction. But, so you got the thicker bushing, washer, small bushing. These two need to swap. Okay, now that that's fixed, big bushing, little bushing, washer, oil seal, circlip, dust seal. That's the order you want to follow. So you can see with these bushings that this was the old one, and you can see that the copper has been worn off over time, whereas this is the new one. And alternatively, with the new bushings, you can just see the wear and tear. So that's a good way to identify. I'm assuming if the copper's wearing, you're probably in for some new bushings. Just before we push the seals in, we're going to connect this back up to the other end. Now, if I'm doing that in the wrong order, let me know, because I'd love to know for future reference. But I'm just following the way that I took it apart. They also need to be thread locked, those two bolts at the bottom. So make sure, clean the thread and make sure there's no oil to contaminate the lock thread. And then we'll chuck them in. And then it's 8 kilos per Newton meters is what the guide says. And, you know, lock thread 1322. that's for a conventional fork. These are the upside down forks, but I can't actually find a guide on that torque spec. So I'm just going to use that one for now because the part's the same. So I still need to drive in the bearings, but first I want to just lock this off. If I can lock that off, then I can drive the seals in from there. And I don't have a seal driver, but I have 2 PVC pipes that will cut in half, and we should be able to drive that in from there. So these are cut in half, and I had to grind down the middle because there was a lip. Chuck them here. Press this down. Automatically, hope I can get this on camera. Not really, but it's pushed down much further. So now the oil seal should easily go down and give us enough room for the clip. So there are proper tools for this, but just making do what I have. I don't have it. There you can see that the oil seal is, you can't see it with the lighting, but it's below the lip line for this. So now I'm going to chuck this in. And then the dust seal. That's it. So that's all the seals put together. So now we can start putting the oil in because it's not going to leak out anywhere. So this is the part that I need help everyone sort with because I actually don't know how much oil to put in these. I've been told that these shocks are Kayaba 47mm OD forks. I've got all the information on the conventional RMX forks, but I can't find the upside down forks. So what I could find on the internet is 450 mils each rod. So I'm hoping that's correct, and that's what I'm going to go with for this video, but I want to make it very clear that I don't know if that's the right amount. And if anybody does know the right amount, please comment below because I still have time to fix this and other people might read these comments later on. So if anyone could help with that, that would be amazing. So for the amount of clicks, I'm just going to leave it till we get the bike on the wheels and start trial and erroring from there. But these are the first shocks I've ever built and I couldn't find a service manual. So if anybody has any feedback, let me know in the comments. I'm not sure if this was the best way to do it or the right way. So I'm hoping I can get some feedback and learn for the next build. So the color is a little more yellow than I wanted, if I'm being completely honest. But it's a significant improvement on the original. Very keen to see how that filler holds up, so I'll do a follow-up in a couple months of riding. But that was it for this video. Thanks for watching, and thanks if you've left any feedback in the comments, either for how to rebuild shocks or the oil level question that I had. This is a part of a greater RMX series, and now I'll have videos coming out every fortnight. The bike's almost ready to put together, so follow along if you want to see the build, and I'll leave a like and subscribe if you like it, and see you next video.